the rubric to this final essay so you know exactly where your points are coming from. So I'm going to widen this out so that we can talk about it. All right, putting Martha down. I've broken down the rubric for your final essay pretty basically, I think, for an essay rubric. But here's how I want you to think about it. It's 250 points. It is 25% of your final grade, which feels big, feels overwhelming, but also this is what you've been working toward this entire semester. So I do want you to feel confident, feel proud, and excited in working on a product that you can be proud of in this process. So walking through the rubric, here's what we have. 3 different elements, I suppose, with little smaller elements within them. So first, the basics. So 100 points out of your 200 points. This is what I'll be looking for in your final essay. An intriguing title. So not just research essay and not just your question, but a fun title. The Norton talks about how to structure those, and I actually really like their discussion about titles, mainly because I haven't seen a textbook reference it before, but they spend some good time on it in the Norton. I want to see a rhetorically purposeful introduction. So not just your classic, traditional, since the beginning of time there have been problems. One problem is this. Here is my solution to the problem. Instead, I'm going to be giving you some highlights from your Norton reading about what kind of introduction to an essay like this would be most appropriate. And there are many different ways that you can go about it. And I think this is the most fun part of this essay, is figuring out how to connect with your readers in the beginning. Often in the past, it's been the part of this assignment that my students have loved most, is thinking about the beginning. Another part of the basics is demonstrating that you can write a clear thesis statement that obviously responds to a well-crafted research question. So we will be working on that thesis statement specifically. You might feel like we're doing this all out of order, but really I'm just asking you to think about considering the main, most, strongest or effective parts that kind of make up the heart of the essay before you write around it. In the end, you can write this in whatever order suits you, but I really want to encourage you to think about the core of your paper before you're even kind of sitting down to start it. There we go. Also, I'll be looking to see if you've thought about your structure, that you've obviously planned it out. I'm going to be going over outlines for you to consider different ways of organizing this, particularly if you are making an argument or if you're just kind of exploring the material. I'll talk about that difference coming up here in a minute as well. You do not have to follow the outlines that I give you, but I will say the best student essays I've had in the past do follow a structure like this. Finally, I'll be looking for a purposeful ending. The Norton brings up a few examples, and I'll talk about that more probably next week or even the following, because I don't want you to think about ending things just yet. We've got to get the meat first. So that's the first part. Those are the basics. The second element to this is interpretation, analysis, and control, which is 100 points out of your 250 points. Basically, this is you being able to work with your source material, proving that you know how to handle quotations ethically, and you can integrate them, use quotation mechanics, use them to support your argument, your claim, or your exploration. You need 6 sources. 2 need to be academic or scholarly. The remaining 4 or more, you're not limited to 6. You can use anything. Just be mindful about the credibility there. I'll be looking for insightful connections and observations between your personal commentary and your sources to support your thesis. This implicitly, I hope, shows you that you should be writing in first person. You should speak from your voice, I, because this is your essay. This is your research. So I want to see your voice and your commentary in this, making the connections between your source material. You also get major points for following standard American quotation mechanics. That's huge. It might seem silly, and I know that I could still understand you even if your quotation mechanics are a mess, but generally, ethically, and to avoid issues of plagiarism, we really want to focus on making sure our mechanics are perfect, and that's something you can be really proud of. I wrote no plagiarism on this rubric, mainly because I've had students fight me in the past that because I didn't write no plagiarism on the rubric, they should still be able to pass the essay. But no, please cite your sources. Please make sure that you're not stealing language without appropriate citation. I don't want to say I can always tell, but generally I've read enough that I can tell if you've copied and pasted, especially from Wikipedia, to just give yourself like a leg up on starting a paragraph. Don't do that, okay? I'd rather have something written clumsily in your own language than copied and pasted or rearranged from some random blog, because it's pretty easy to find on my end. So don't do that. You can do better. I know you can. Finally, the last element is organization style and format. All of this, I won't necessarily read it to you, but basically it's just writing effectively and cohesively, paying attention to your syntax and your word choice, making sure that you have edited for grammar and spelling, punctuation, formatting everything accordingly. I think we've all decided on doing MLA, which makes me happy. You need to have, I know I've said 10 to 12 pages, but I really want you, and I really would prefer that, but at the very least, I want 8 solid pages, okay, 8 full without making your periods and commas like size 16 and lengthening the essay. I want to see solid commentary and work. If you get to a point in your writing that you're like, oh no, that's 7 pages, I have nothing else to say, I'm just going to turn it in, whatever. Like, you can do that, but what I would prefer is for you to go back and work with another source. That's what I'm going to tell you if you ask me. If you say, well, I just feel like if I add any more now, it'll just be like fluffy BS, which I appreciate acknowledging that, but add in another source, work with it, add in another voice. That is a great way to address issues of length in terms of this research essay. But go for that 10. I think you'll be proud of yourself if you do. That's the rubric. At this point, I would ask you if you had questions. But again, I'm talking to myself and my cats, and that feels a little funny for me, but there we go. Deep breath on my end. There's the rubric. Please do, in your discussion board or sending me a message, ask questions if you have them. Text me questions if you have them. Big, small, stupid, or in between. But that's what I have to say about your rubric. I think at this point I'm going to take a short break and then edit this video together. Great. You'll see the seams, but it's fine because I'm trying not to stress out about making this perfect. Okay.